From NASCAR flyovers to New York City streets, from White House tributes to Texas highways, America just sent a message that no assassin's bullet can silence. What happened in the last 72 hours proves something powerful about this nation. When political violence strikes, when hate tries to erase a voice, when the radical left celebrates murder, the American people don't cower. They rise. They gather. They chant. They paint rocks and honor the fallen. But while patriots mourn and unite, the education establishment shows its true colors by investigating memorial tributes while the real killers walk free. Contrast couldn't be clearer. The battle lines couldn't be sharper. Wait till you see what happens next. And while America mourns Charlie Kirk, we do need to talk about building strength, not just as a movement, but personally. We couldn't do this show without our sponsors. When darkness strikes, we respond by becoming our best self. And that's why I trust Ageless Multi-Collagen to keep me sharp and strong for the fight ahead. It provides 5 must-have types of premium collagen that help reduce wrinkles and boost skin elasticity. Since I started taking it, I've noticed smoother skin, fewer fine lines, and a more youthful glow. It mixes perfectly with my morning coffee. No taste, no clumps. Grab yours at 51% off at healthwithgary.com while the offer lasts. That's healthwithgary.com. We thank our sponsors for making this program possible. Now, this was the scene when I went to the Vigil last night in Northbrook, Illinois, at a park that I used to play at as a young child with my mother. I went there with my kids, and it was beautiful to be in that park again, but sadly, for the reason I was there, wish it was for other circumstances. There were young kids there that gave me hope. And what was really beautiful is that these kids from Turning Point, they were bold. So bold. I posted this clip. The full, if you want to watch the full vigil from Northbrook, Illinois for Charlie Kirk, it is on our YouTube channel. It's also on X. You can watch it in full. It's about 45 minutes. Getting wonderful response from people. Over 100,000 views on X already. But this was, I think, one of the turning points of that vigil. Students exposed Glenbrook North administration blocking a conservative club while approving leftist one. Dr. Michael Tarjan denied Turning Point USA, but approved Students Demand Action. Now, Students Demand Action is an anti-gun group. And they want you to email the number on this, the email on the screen and the number at his office. Now, I'm going to show you this clip. And what I learned is I just text the young man to ask him if there's an update. And he said to me, let's see, where did it go here? Let's see here. Oh, yeah, here he said, I asked him for an update. And he says, apparently, sources tell me there was an emergency meeting with the school administration today. Please remind viewers to keep it civil and be respectful in the comments. That is what Charlie would have wanted. He was always the most respectful person. God bless. I got another message from someone who was at the event as well. This is Sean Miles, one of the students who planned the vigil for Charlie Kirk last night. I got your number. I would love to share my story of being a conservative voice in such a liberal area. I have faced tremendous pushback from fellow students, teachers, and administration being involved in conservative politics in the area and being a conservative voice on campus. Sean Miles, a senior at Glenbrook North High School. This is the next generation, folks. Watch.
Encouraged me to start a chapter at my high school. Unfortunately, school administrators have not approved the chapter yet. We've tried multiple times, as Peter stated. This year we're going to try again. Glenbrook North. We're at Glenbrook North, and unfortunately they're not approving it.
Dr. Michael Tarjan, Director of Student Activities, has denied our right of free speech. Email him. We need to start a chapter. We need to spread this movement. And we have to recognize that we have to continue his movement, and we have to make it even bigger and even stronger. I tried to get Turning Point USA approved to Glenbrook North last year with my friend Nate. They denied us. Wait, you know what club they allow? Students Demand Action.
Why did they deny you?
They said our club already exists, but it didn't. It was a news club. That is nowhere near Turning Point. We need to get clubs approved at every high school around the nation. We must continue this fight. The administrators denied the club.
Name?
Dr. Michael Tarjan. Please email him. Who wants his email?
Let's go!
Yeah!
Let's go!
Get your phones ready to write it down so you can send him emails right now.
Yeah!
Everyone ready? MTARJAN at Glenbrook GLENBROOK 225.org. Send him emails. Help us get our club approved. Help us continue Charlie's mission. We must spread this. We cannot let our kids live under Democrat rule. We need capitalism in our country. Thank you guys for coming.
Encouraged me to start a chapter.
Now, I want to be clear that the information that is being presented here is public record. This is a public school. So we're not revealing anything that's private or, anything of that nature. We're not doxing anybody. This is a public official. And this post now seen 228,000 times. And this is in the liberal stronghold of Northbrook, Illinois, where it was peaceful. But you know where it wasn't peaceful? New York City. And we're joined now by Ed Zoll, who was there on the ground. If you don't know who Ed is a producer, an investigative reporter with Died Suddenly on X. You may have seen the film. Ed, there he is. Looks like you're traveling from the airport. Ed, I want to get these video clips queued up. And while I do that, tell everybody what your experience was in New York.
Well, in New York, I think I experienced the rawest of the reality that we have in this country, which is that one of the parties, their literal platform is to murder their opposition, to scream and abuse and to deplatform. The people that we ran into, Gary, are probably only a hair's width away from the extremities of what you would see in Chicago. I saw a lot of people, and especially young adults, that debate who've given up on the and in the First Amendment, and they're not kinsmen, they're not countrymen of you and I. That's what I saw, and it was a very shocking thing, really, to experience in person. Of course, both you and I have reported on the ground at quite some incredible places, so we're not shocked by much anymore. But I was very disappointed, not just by the ghoulish nature of many of these people. Some people that were of the killer who wrote this Bella Cow song on casings, but more than this, that they're willing to crash a vigil. I don't think I've ever heard of someone hating another person so much that they would show up at someone's essentially their funeral, a memorial, a place where we're supposed to memorialize and respect the dead and maybe remember some of the things that we respected and loved about these people. There was a line that we didn't cross between the two parties, but Gary, what New York showed me is there is no. It's an open season. Unfortunately for them, that means they're willing to shoot and kill us to win the fight.
Now, Ed, I'm on screen here. This is one of the tweets you sent me from the NYU College Republicans. Looks like a guy who you'd normally think would be playing a happy little song, a little ditty, by a fountain. But instead, this is what he's playing. And I can hear your voice saying, "We will pray for your salvation." I watched this a couple times. I saw you throughout this, and you're telling, we're going to pray for you. You're in a very, very dark place. But listen to the lyrics. It's really sad.
Very, very dark place. We're going to pray for your salvation.
I don't want your salvations.
Why?
I want you to fucking die. We're not going to give you a second chance, even when you beg for it on your knees, begging and pleading.
And that's just a portion, Ed. I mean, how long was this guy on the ground harassing people who were mourning?
From the beginning. So we showed up at about 8. I was helping the NYU College Republicans, conduct the vigil. It's funny, Gary, because we're the old guys now, right? We're the guys
Yeah.
that know how to do production. We're the ones the young guys come to for advice and to help out. And look, these young guys, they shouldn't have to deal with a bloody memorial, let alone, the harassment that they experienced here. But yeah, from the beginning, he showed up with his guitar and he said, "I am not only going to disrupt this, but I'm going to expose all of you as satanic Nazis." Right? And then he proceeds to sing this ghoulish hymn, which is right behind the memorial, by the way. Parents are showing up. People from all over Manhattan are showing up to pay their respects to Charlie Kirk. And then they have to listen to this guy who's singing essentially an incitement to violence. He's singing a ballad to a future assassination. He even threatened the president of the New York, the NYU College Republicans. His name's Ryan. This young kid hadn't dealt with something like this before, but I told him this. You can't cower in the face of pure evil. And isn't it proof of what we're facing? As you heard him say in that clip, he's literally saying that we should all die. He's wanting all of us to die at a memorial, right? It just tells you where their tone, their mindset, and their mission's at.
Well, there was a moment that you also shared with me that the college Republicans are overpowered the screeching liberal counter-protesters with the national anthem at their vigil. Brings a tear in my eye.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright.
I mean, the only way to get through these moments is to rely on our heart and our patriotism and our love of God and Jesus. And you guys were able to overpower that moment. What were some of the reactions from people on the ground? Like you said, some of these kids have never experienced something this evil before.
But a lot of the kids felt that they were meeting the shooter, the same kind of person that killed Charlie Kirk. They felt like they were coming face to face with pure evil. And look, the national anthem, we sang Amazing Grace. We had to sing to make sure the whole thing didn't just become taken over by these agitators, these Satanists, these absolute morons, by the way. A lot of these people were students. They spent their Sunday night coming out to torment and torture a lot of these students who had great respect for Charlie Kirk. Several who had actually met and spent time with Charlie, had worked with him. It's all we could think to do in the moment, Gary, was to use our voices. To do what we could to show our heart and our soul in a moment when they were showing theirs. And look, they were very dark. Like those moments, and I'm sure you've dealt with stressful situations like that in the past. All you can do is contain your rage. You have to try to maintain a professionalism. And I feel the college Republicans, especially the students from NYU, they were wise beyond their years. You'd be very impressed with this young group. And they kept their cool and they sang along. So God bless them.
Yeah, when I was a young street activist and we were out in Chicago, just passing out DVDs, trying to wake up America to what was going on. We were spit on, we were attacked, our cameras destroyed. I mean, I've seen a lot of evil on the streets in some of these cities, but back then we weren't dealing with, the literal political assassination of a colleague, and to see people come out like this, like for example, this one here, as you know, on the bullet casings, Bella Ciao was put on one of the casings. You know, it's an old anti-fascist song from World War II, and here is a video that you sent me. Protesters singing the song written on the bullet casings, which killed Charlie Kirk. They threatened to kill the NYU College Republican president, Ryan Leonard. They are not looking for peace. This is the moment. I don't even know. I mean, you're looking evil right in the face there, Ed.
Oh, it's literally the face of our enemy. They're willing to rub salt in the wound and really get in the face of people who are just mourning the death here. That person, by the way, she didn't even need the phone. She'd already memorized those lyrics. Think about that. This, I believe, is indication that it's not just a lone wolf, not just a one-off event. There is an insurgency in this country, and they have a theme song. They have concurrent and shared manifesto and mission. Like they have this obsession with demonizing people like you and I, because they have to dehumanize you and I before they kill us. That's really what it comes down to. If they are unable to dehumanize us, they can justify to themselves that they are in the right, that they can commit such a heinous act, which would again be akin to the heinous act with the carried out on Charlie Kirk. And look, it's not the first time they tried to kill President Trump last year. All right,
Yeah.
we often sometimes forget that the same group, the same satanic cult, this death cult, they tried to kill the sitting president. Okay, and they would be happy to see President Trump die and this country devolve into absolute chaos. But look, by the grace of God, they were not successful. Unfortunately, in the case of Charlie Kirk, they were able to take Charlie out of this world before his time. But the thing that we do control, Gary, is we control whether his mission dies with him. And we're not letting that happen. And I saw in the eyes and the faces of those children that night in NYU, look, they're not going to die. They're happy to confront this evil head on, and they will not cower from this evil. They will face.
We're getting a little bit of connectivity issues. Ed is currently traveling, so bear with us. Hopefully we can get him back to get some closing remarks with respect to what's happening. The ripple effect that we're experiencing, we're seeing now with all these different vigils that are taking place across the country. And, like I was in Northbrook, Illinois, and I saw all these young people coming together. And like what you're going to see right here, this is the vigil that I was at. And there were so many people. Before you go, I know you're traveling. Ed, with respect to the ripple effect, they took out Charlie, and I still can't believe I'm reporting this. They took out Charlie, but what else have they done? I mean, you're seeing these vigils, you're seeing people coming together all over the world, millions and millions of people. I mean, I could not wait to hear my pastor this past Sunday, because I knew it would come up. There's no way you couldn't bring it up. We're seeing it in the churches, we're seeing it in the streets, we're seeing it all over the world. What do you think is going to be the impact of this moment moving forward?
I think that what we witnessed last week was a theft of the innocence of a generation. Too many people were exposed to just a grave, violent, and disgusting act. It's going to change their mindset for the rest of their lives. I think anyone who watched Charlie Kirk perish live on camera and was then berated with not only the video, but also the supporters of such an act, they've been changed, they've been activated, and they know that the things they've heard in church about the devil, about evil, about the very pure, disgusting, and pernicious acts that we will face and have to confront head on as Christians in this world, that they're real. And I think a lot of people grew up very quickly. It's akin to child soldiers in this sense. That when you've been to war, once you've seen the war, bloodshed and violence in first person, what it does is it ages you very quickly. And I think what we're going to see, Gary, is a generation that has now decided that they've come to adulthood. They've come to their time of professionalism. These 20-year-olds, they're going to carry us through into a new era of activism. And it's for you and I think, to serve as mentors, especially as we've been doing for many of the people that we interact with. But more often, I think you're going to find there are going to be a lot of very, very passionate and on fire 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds that we weren't seeing before, because they're willing now to put their lives down, like Charlie did, to ensure victory. And this victory is needed for this country to survive. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm praying again for their protection.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you for taking the time in your travels from New York to share your insights and your firsthand experience at that vigil. So Godspeed, brother, and we'll have you back soon.
God bless you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That was Ed Zoll. He's an investigative reporter. He's a producer. Died Suddenly is his X account, so make sure you give him a follow. And we're not done with this segment yet because we still have some more to get to. People here, erasing evil. Here's Ted Cruz personally took care of the graffiti on the side of Highway 59 in Houston that said F Charlie Kirk. Texans don't have to look at this hateful garbage anymore. Ted Cruz taking matters into his own hands. J.D. Vance covering for Charlie Kirk today on his show. Here is one segment from it. And I do want to play the closing remarks of the vice president. It's a longer clip, but it's really important that we listen to it. We've also got a longer segment with RFK Jr. I've been told it is a must listen to as well. I'm going to try to get to all these clips. Let's just hear. Here is the press secretary with J.D. Vance on the Charlie Kirk show.
Said behind the.
What do you take from Charlie Kirk, the communicator?
So many things, just by watching him and by being around him. But I think most of all, standing firm in your convictions and picking a fight, especially when you know you have the facts and the truth on your side, but doing it with a smile. And that's something Charlie did so brilliantly and well. He would go to these campus reform events and he would say to the crowd, if you disagree with me, come to the front of the line. And I find myself doing that in the briefing rooms, picking on the reporters whom I know very much disagree with me and with the president. But as long as you believe in what you're saying and you have conviction in it and you have truth and the facts on your side, it makes it a lot easier to say it. And that's what Charlie did for a living. And I know he inspired me as a young voice for President Trump now, like you said, behind the White House podium. And, before every briefing, I always pray to Jesus Christ. And Charlie was so outspoken with his faith, and I will continue to be in honor of him. But I'll also think of Charlie and just how brilliantly he was able to combat the lies with facts and to do it with a smile.
What do you take from Charlie?
Combating the lies with facts. Here's Secretary Kennedy, RFK Jr., sitting down with the vice president, an unprecedented moment where a vice president is filling in on a podcast of someone who is a victim of political violence. There's a lot to get to in this segment, so please stay with me.
Talk, if you would, just a little bit about Charlie's approach to politics and how it ultimately made you one of the most important people in the federal government.
Yeah, well, Charlie was probably the primary architect of my unification with President Trump. I actually announced my endorsement of President Trump at a Turning Point rally in Arizona, which was his idea. And he was, for people who were there, remember it, there was all these kind of fireworks and sparklers on the stage when we shook hands, and that was all Charlie's orchestration. That was his idea, and he insisted on that. But I first met Charlie in July of 2021. I had just written a book about Anthony Fauci. And he had me on his show for this very, very wide-ranging interview in which he really let me talk a lot, which was unusual at that time because I was not allowed to talk on most outlets.
Sure.
And I think both of us approached each other with some trepidation because we came from such different places. By the end of that interview, I felt like I'd met a spiritual soulmate, and our friendship blossomed after that. And even during the campaign, when he was strongly supporting President Trump, we always had a communication and outreach. And then after I made the endorsement, I saw him all the time, and he helped me a lot during the transition.
Yep.
As did you, as did Tucker. And helped a lot. Amaryllis, who's my daughter-in-law, he really kind of pushed her a lot to get the job that she has today. So, the thing that united us was his total commitment to free speech.
Talk, if you would, just...
Now, we're going to play the Vice President's closing remarks from the Charlie Kirk show today. But before I do, I want to share with you some important context. Here's the moment. This is the flyover. Took place NASCAR honoring Charlie Kirk at the Bristol Motor Speedway. An amazing moment. All those people celebrating Charlie Kirk. And, sadly, though, Aurora, Illinois Fire Department ordered by the mayor to place their flags at full staff. Firefighters said no. Disgraceful things happening across the country. Now, okay, so I want to present something here because we're finding out that, where's that? Okay, so J.D. Vance went and you're going to hear him say about this woman on screen now. Karen Attiah. She has been relieved of her job after she published something that was an absolute lie about Charlie Kirk. This is the moment J.D. Vance brought it up, and then we also have Charlie Kirk's statement.
You realize the writer accuses Charlie of saying, and I quote, "Black women do not have brain processing power to be taken seriously." But if you go and watch the clip, the very clip she links to, you realize he never said anything like that. He never uttered those words.
If we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
The writer accuses Charlie of saying, and I quote,
So
"Black women do not have brain processing power to be taken seriously."
So that's the full context. Now, I want to present to you the remarks from the vice president here on the show. There's a lot to get to. I don't even know how to process all this, but I'm doing my best, folks. The vice president said, if we want to stop political violence like what happened to Charlie Kirk, we have to be honest about the people who are celebrating it and the people who are financing it. My closing remarks on today's episode of the Charlie Kirk Show.
Shortly after Usha and I left Charlie's family and Charlie's remains in Arizona, I read a story in The Nation magazine about my dear friend Charlie Kirk. Now, The Nation isn't a fringe blog. It's a well-funded, well-respected magazine whose publishing history goes back to the American Civil War. George Soros's Open Society Foundation funds this magazine, as does the Ford Foundation and many other wealthy titans of the American progressive movement. The writer accuses Charlie of saying, and I quote, "Black women do not have brain processing power to be taken seriously." But if you go and watch the clip, the very clip she links to, you realize he never said anything like that. He never uttered those words. He made an argument against affirmative action as a policy. He criticized a specific Supreme Court justice as an individual. He never said anything about black women as a group. He made an argument for judging people of all races and backgrounds by their own individual merits. The very evidence she provides, this hack of a writer, shows that she lied about a dead man, and yet she wrote it. An esteemed magazine published it. It made it through the editors, and of course, liberal billionaires rewarded that attack. Now, of course, even if Charlie had uttered those words, it wouldn't mean that he deserved his fate, but consider the level of propaganda at work. Charlie was gunned down in broad daylight, and well-funded institutions of the left lied about what he said so as to justify his murder. This is soulless and evil. But I was struck not just by the dishonesty of this smear, but by the glee over a young husband's and young father's death. Quote, she says, "He was an unrepentant racist, transphobe, homophobe, and misogynist." The Nation wrote, who often wrapped his bigotry in Bible verses because there was no other way to pretend that it was morally correct. He had children, as do many vile people. That's what they said. He had children, as do many vile people. Now, hours before this smear was published, my wife and I had the honor of escorting Charlie's body back to his home in Arizona. We took his wife, Erica, we love you, his parents, his sister, and a few of his best friends with us. And as they offloaded Charlie's casket from Air Force Two, I worried that Erica would collapse with grief. Now, I'm a very lucky husband to a very wonderful wife, but I have never been prouder of my wife than that moment as she held Erica in Erica's very darkest hour. And I thought of Erica as I read that disgusting attack on Charlie. He had children, as do many vile people. That's what they said about him. I said the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And I asked Usha what Erica had said to her earlier in the day in a private moment, and I asked Erica's permission to share this. My wife told me, she asked me for advice. Erica asked me for advice on how she should tell her children that their father had been murdered. She asked my wife how to tell her beautiful kids that their father and my dear, very dear friend is no longer with us. And as she was doing it, there were people dancing on that father's grave. Now, I have heard many calls in the last few days for unity and for healing in the wake of Charlie's assassination. You have no idea how desperately I want that, how gratified I was when Democratic friends and even former Senate colleagues reached out to offer their condolences to me. I'm so thankful. And I know there are so many like them all across our great country. I am desperate to wrap my arms around them as we all unite to condemn political violence and the ideas that cause it. Psalm 133 tells us, "Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head." Oh, how badly have I craved that precious ointment in recent days, and I believe we can have it. But first, we must tell the truth. It's the only way to honor Charlie, for what was he, if not a man who told the truth in every place, in every environment? Now, the most important truth Charlie told is this, that long ago a man, begotten, not made, came down from heaven, and by the Holy Spirit was incarnate of the Virgin Mary and became man. For our sake, he was crucified under Pontius Pilate and suffered death and was buried and rose again on the third day. Charlie believed, as I do, that all the truth he told flowed from that fundamental principle. I really do believe that we can come together in this country. I believe we must. But unity, real unity, can be found only after climbing the mountain of truth. And there are difficult truths we must confront in our country. One truth is that 24% of self-described, quote, very liberals believe it is acceptable to be happy about the death of a political opponent, while only 3% of self-described very conservatives agree. 3% is too many, of course. Another truth is that 26% of young liberals believe political violence is sometimes justified, and only 7% of young conservatives say the same. Again, too high a number. In a country of 330 million people, you can, of course, find one person of a given political persuasion justifying this or that or almost anything. But the data is clear. People on the left are much likelier to defend and celebrate political violence. This is not a both sides problem. If both sides have a problem, one side has a much bigger and malignant problem, and that is the truth we must be told. That problem has terrible consequences. The leader of our party, Donald J. Trump, escaped an assassin's bullet by less than an inch. Our House Majority Leader, Stephen Scalise, came within seconds of death by an assassin himself. And now, the most influential conservative activist in generations, our friend Charlie, has been murdered. This violence, it doesn't come from nowhere. Now, any political movement, violent or not violent, is a collection of forces. It's like a pyramid that stacks on top, one support on top of the other. That pyramid's got a foundation of donors, of activists, of journalists, now of social media influencers, and of course of politicians. Not every member of that pyramid would commit a murder. In fact, over 99%, I'm sure, would not. But by celebrating that murder, apologizing for it, and emphasizing not Charlie's innocence, but the fact that he said things some didn't like, even to the point of lying about what he actually said, many of these people are creating an environment where things like this are inevitably going to happen. A couple of months ago, I headlined a fundraiser in Southern California, and since, we'd be out there anyways, my wife and I decided to take our kids to Disneyland one weekend. We had fun, and to be clear, most of the guests said very nice things, or they just left us alone. But there was a loud and very vocal minority that would shout at my children, who were 8, 5, and 3, whenever they got the opportunity. "You should disown your dad, you little shit," one middle-aged woman yelled at my 5-year-old. "Tell the Secret Service to protect the Constitution, not your father," screamed another. Are these women violent? Probably not. Are they deranged? Certainly. And while our side of the aisle certainly has its crazies, it is a statistical fact that most of the lunatics in American politics today are proud members of the far left. After Charlie died, one of his friends and one of our senior White House staffers had left-leaning operatives in his neighborhood passing out leaflets telling people what he looked like and where he lived, encouraging neighbors to harass him or, God forbid, to do worse. While he was mourning his dead friend, he and his wife had to worry about the political terrorists drawing a big target on the home he shares with his young children. Are these people violent? I hope not. But are they guilty of encouraging violence? You damn well better believe it. We can thank God that most Democrats don't share these attitudes, and I do, while acknowledging that something has gone very wrong with a lunatic fringe, a minority, but a growing and powerful minority on the far left. There is no unity with people who scream at children over their parents' politics. There is no unity with someone who lies about what Charlie Kirk said in order to excuse his murder. There is no unity with someone who harasses an innocent family the day after the father of that family lost a dear friend. There is no unity with the people who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination. And there is no unity with the people who fund these articles, who pay the salaries of these terrorist sympathizers, who argue that Charlie Kirk, a loving husband and father, deserved a shot to the neck because he spoke words with which they disagree. Did you know that the George Soros Open Society Foundation and the Ford Foundation, the groups who funded that disgusting article justifying Charlie's death, do you know they benefit from generous tax treatment? They are literally subsidized by you and me, the American taxpayer. And how do they reward us? By setting fire to the house built by the American family over 250 years. I am desperate for our country to be united in condemnation of the actions and the ideas that killed my friend. I want it so badly that I will tell you a difficult truth. We can only have it with people who acknowledge that political violence is unacceptable, and when we work to dismantle the institutions that promote violence and terrorism in our own country. Now, our government, you heard me talk to Stephen Miller about this, will be working very hard to do exactly that in the months to come. We're not always going to get it right. We will sometimes move more slowly than you would like. We will sometimes move more slowly than I want us to. But I promise you that we will explore every option to bring real unity to our country and stop those who would kill their fellow Americans because they don't like what they say.
J.D. Vance hosting for Charlie Kirk. They burned, looted, and murdered. We held prayer vigils. We are not the same. Apparently, kids at school were airdropping the video of Charlie Kirk to other students and celebrating. This one person testifying to that fact. And with all the vigils happening across the world, it is bound to bring out the crazies, as we saw in New York. Well, in one vigil, someone got arrested. A mugshot just dropped to the man who was arrested after vandalizing a Charlie Kirk memorial outside Turning Point USA's headquarters in Arizona. 19-year-old Ryder Coral. Mugshot via News Nation. And he promptly was taken into custody. The mugshot now circulating. As you heard J.D. Vance discussing his talk with Stephen Miller. I think we have that as well. Let's see if I can find. Here's Stephen Miller on the Charlie Kirk show with the vice president.
I've known Charlie for 10 years. He was a treasured friend, and it's going to sound. He made you believe more in yourself, is the best way I could put that.
That's right.
He was your biggest cheerleader. He would, if I was working on a hard project, an important executive order, a major new initiative, he would give me the strength and the focus to get it done.
That's right.
He was everybody's supporter, enthusiast, cheerleader, promoter. He made all of us better every single day. The memory that I keep turning to is not a single memory. It's a period of a couple months after we won the election. And Charlie was in the campaign or the transition office every single day. And from dawn till dusk, volunteering his time to get into the weeds, the nitty-gritty of government. And he was so damn excited. I mean, it really hurts to think about it right now. He was so excited about all of us being here. And we would be talking about every executive order, every new regulation, every new policy plan. It was such a thrill for me to get to spend a few months of my life, because he came from the nonprofit, the activist world. I came from the government world. And in this transition, to be able to work hand in hand, take all of his ideas from being the leader of TPUSA, spending time with college students, spending time with activists, and then be able to be with us at the transition to plan out the next step of our government, that was an experience for which I will always be grateful. And the last thing I'll say is that, to my earlier point, Charlie would send me messages all the time, just saying, great work, or here's a new idea, or here's what I think will take this to the next level. And I took them all to heart. And God, I just love the man so much. I've known Charlie for 10 years.
One of Charlie's last actions regarding me was when I posted that Vanity Fair cover. And he shared it out and said, let's share this into existence. And, Charlie didn't interact much with my ex account, but I was really happy when I saw that. We've got this here. RFK Jr. just declared that we are going into overdrive to continue on the mission that Charlie started, and the crowd went wild. Charlie Kirk led the resistance that restored free speech in America.
17-year-old. Now joining us, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yesterday, my 17-year-old niece left for Europe to go to college. And while she was packing, her mother, Amaryllis, my daughter-in-law, noticed that she had put a Bible in her suitcase. And Amaryllis was curious about it. And she asked her, and Zoe said to her, I want to live like Charlie Kirk. There are millions and millions of kids around the country who he inspired who now want to live with Charlie Kirk. And that's a great thing for our country. I met Charlie for the first time in July of 2001. I went on his podcast, and I think we approached each other with a lot of trepidation at that time, but by the end of the podcast, we were soulmates, we were spiritual brothers, and we were friends. And over the next couple of years, our friendship blossomed. He ended up being the primary architect of my unification with President Trump, which I did my endorsement at his rally, at the Turning Point rally in Scottsdale. And he was the one who put the sparklers on the stage when I showed that. He made a big show of it. But the overarching mission of Charlie Kirk was Jesus, but also free speech, and he saw them as intertwined. He thought conversation was the only way we were going to heal our country. Now, we had to learn to talk to each other without vitriol, without poison, without anger. We had to be able to listen to ideas. We had to be able to say what we mean without being mean. And to talk to each other across this divide. It's the only way to end the polarization that's driven now by these algorithms and by all these other forces in our society. And that first conversation with him that I had, we talked a lot, we had a wide-ranging conversation. We talked mainly about the First Amendment. We talked about the fact that our founders put freedom of speech in the First Amendment because all the other rights are dependent on it. A government that can silence its opponents has license for any kind of atrocity. We were specifically talking about what happened during the pandemic once the government figured out that we would put up with the censorship, they went after the entire Constitution. Immediately took away our right to assembly, the First Amendment right with social distancing regulations. They shut down the First Amendment right to worship by closing all of our churches for almost a year and keeping the liquor stores open as essential businesses. They went after our Fifth Amendment right to our property rights. They closed down 3.5 businesses with no due process, no just compensation. They went after our Seventh Amendment right to jury trials by making whole categories of businesses that we could no longer sue no matter what they did to us. They went after the Fourth Amendment right, the protection against unwarranted searches and seizures, with all these social distancing regulations that made us have to produce our medical records before we went to a public building or an airplane or enjoyed other constitutional rights. And Charlie, more than any figure in our country, led the resistance that has restored freedom of speech to this country.
I'm going to go ahead and repost that. You can watch the full remarks. But this is far from over. The ripple effect from Charlie Kirk is going to be felt for a very, very long time. The youth is rising up. People who've never been politically active before are rising up. And I hope that you are rising up too. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is what separates us from them. While they plot in darkness and celebrate death, America responds with light. NASCAR flyovers, New York streets packed with patriots, candlelight vigils in liberal strongholds. This is how a free people answer terrorism. But notice the double standard. A high school investigating a memorial rock painted for Charlie Kirk, yet the same rock honored George Floyd without question. The message is clear. Conservative lives don't matter to the establishment. Secretary Kennedy calling Charlie the architect of unity. The press secretary prays before every briefing in his honor. 37,000 students applied to start Turning Point USA chapters. That's not a memorial. That is a revolution. So here's my question. Should schools that investigate conservative memorials while celebrating leftist tributes lose federal funding? Yes or no? Sound off below. The movement that Charlie built is not dying. It is multiplying. Grab your next news gear from our shop and wear it proud. This is Gary Franchi for the Next News Network.